This is my review of the Santa Claus 3 The Escape Clause. This is the third movie in this hilarious holiday trilogy by Disney. This movie was directed by the very talented Michael Lembeck. The two main stars in this movie are Martin Short and Tim Allen. Tim Allen is well known for his role in the 30-minute sitcom Home Improvement. This movie starts out with a very pregnant Mrs. Claus. But before I get into that, let me back up and bring you up to speed on what happened, what the basic point was in the first two Santa Claus movies. Scott Calvin, aka Santa, was chosen to be the role of Santa Claus. And at that time, Scott Calvin was not married. He was told that he would have to find a Mrs. Claus. And also during that time, Scott was having some rough patches with his son Charlie. Well, along the way, Scott Calvin finds his Mrs. Claus, which now brings us up to this third movie. And in this movie, she is very pregnant, and she refers to her baby as the package. Something that I found very funny was when she said that it's time to deliver the package, and Scott Calvin looked at her kind of funny. He said, "No, it's not time yet." I'm not talking about the Christmas presents. I'm talking about and she looks at her belly, and she was speaking of the baby. It was time to deliver the package. Not all critics enjoyed this movie. As a matter of fact, not many of them really did. One of those critics was Ross with TV Guide, who did not like the Christmas sweater that Scott Calvin wore. It was actually referred to as hideous. While I didn't care for the Christmas sweater, what is a good Christmas movie without an ugly Christmas sweater? Another critic that did not like this movie was Savlov with the Ulster Chronicle, who actually referred to this movie as being dreadful. That's kind of a stretch. This movie is far from being dreadful in my opinion. That would be the last choice of wording I would use for this movie. However, there was one critic that I found that did seem to agree somewhat with my opinion, and that would be Dargis with the New York Times, who stated that this movie would resemble something that could actually be written in a store-bought greeting card. And I can agree with that as well. Basically, this movie is about Santa, who is currently Scott Calvin, trying to defend his role as Santa Claus because Jack Frost is trying to steal that role away from him. And Jack Frost will go to great lengths to try to steal the title of Santa Claus away from Scott Calvin. And this is a big battle throughout the movie, and it revolves around snow globes quite a bit. That's the basic center point of how Jack Frost is trying to steal away the title of Santa Claus. Also, something else that Scott Calvin is having to deal with throughout this movie is the fact that he has a very pregnant wife who is very emotional at this time. And she's really missing the rest of her family who's not there at the North Pole with her. So Scott decides that he's going to arrange for her parents to come up there and be with them for Christmas. But the problem with that is Santa Claus and the North Pole and the elves are not supposed to be known to anybody else. So they redecorate the North Pole to be a Canadian city. And this is quite hilarious when her parents get there and they're talking in the accents of Canadians. It plays out one of the hilarious parts of the movie. And besides that, the entire movie had me laughing the entire time. It's a ball of laughs. It's a good Christmas movie. It's a good movie for families. There's no bad language, nothing that you wouldn't want your children to see. I would certainly recommend this movie to anybody who wants to see a good holiday, Christmassy, feel good type movie. This movie is the one for you. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Santa Claus 3 The Escape Clause.